Hey guys, it's Steve. Wanted to get this bonus episode out to you this week. A good friend of the show, Steve from Tampa. He and I were kind of texting back and forth, and he had an opportunity to stay at Hilton Head right when it opened, just here a couple weeks ago, and kind of following along with our DVC theme that we had when we had Nick Cotton on with the DVC resale market. Just wanted to get this one out to you as well. Steve's a huge cruiser, cruised with Disney several times, many times, and he's a fun interview. So I thought we'd take a look today at what the resorts are doing as they open back up for those of you who maybe headed to Hilton Head, Vero Beach, or even down to Walt Disney World as it's opened up this weekend. So without any further ado, let's jump into this bonus episode looking at Hilton Head Resort. Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly. Well, welcome back to the DCL podcast, your podcast to help you and your family cruise a little smarter when the ships are sailing. And continuing with the DVC theme, Christy and Chris are out and unavailable tonight, so you're stuck with me, which hopefully isn't too bad. But I'd like to welcome back to the show a good friend of our podcast, all the way from Tampa, Florida. How are you doing tonight, Steve?
I'm doing well, Steve. How are you?
Not too bad. So we are here to talk about Tom Brady and the Gronk coming down to play for your Buccaneers.
I think I'm a lowly Jet fan. You know, I'm a transplant New Yorker who's says Jet fan with a lot of shame. So, you know, as Brady's an expatriate, I still look at him as the enemy. But, you know, good for the folks around here that are Tampa fans.
Tough to jump on that bandwagon. I totally understand that.
Yes, it is. I can't be rooting for expatriates. Come on.
Well, we're gonna keep running with our DVC theme from our last show. We had a chance to talk with Nick Cotton, the president of the DVC resale market. Just a really good guy. Really appreciate him coming on. And you, Steve, just got to head down to Hilton Head recently, didn't you?
We did, yeah. We were lucky enough to go. I took had fortunate enough to be working right now and had a lot of PTO built up, and we had a little beach vacation. Then we went to Hilton Head on the back end of it.
That's awesome. Well, before we jump into that, let's get a little background on DVC. How long have you owned your DVC points, and where do you own?
So we joined in about October of 2017. We own all of our points at Animal Kingdom Lodge. Yeah, we have about, I think, 200 points over at Animal Kingdom Lodge.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite resorts. Did you buy for the resort itself specifically, or why did you pick Animal Kingdom?
It is one of our favorites. It's also, so sometimes the way I think about DVC for us, especially because we're local and we go to the parks a lot, is a resort only kind of stay. Mm-hmm. And that's one of my favorite places. You're a little secluded in the sense that you're not around sort of the intense mix of resorts around the theme parks. You're obviously close to Animal Kingdom, but it just kind of feels like it's its own place. And it's totally unique, obviously, as well. So we love it there. We really love it there.
Yeah, just speaking for myself personally, I think Animal Kingdom and Wilderness Lodge are my two favorite as far as, you know, possibly doing a resort stay or resort only stay, as far as feeling disconnected from the rest of the chaos sometimes.
This is why we connect, Steve. I'm on the same plane. Now you sprinkle in a little Polynesian there so I can get, you know, a real kind of that's where I kind of feel like I'm on a vacation and nothing matters, like calories, nothing, you know, a little Hawaiian music. But see, you get to go to Hawaii, so I'm sure the Polynesian feels like a little bit of a cheap knockoff compared to the real authentic Hawaiian feel that you experience.
Yeah, well, I love the Polynesian too. I love Trader Sam's there. I love watching the fireworks actually in the evening from there. So it's a great resort as well. So did you guys buy direct or did you buy resale? And if you bought resale, why?
So we've done all of our points direct. I think we're at the point now where anything moving forward, though, we would go resale. Just, of course, like everyone else, there's really never enough points. And we started staying in some 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms. And once you go to that route, you're like, okay, give me all the points. So, yeah. So I definitely have my eye on the resale market at the moment, but we're not in any hurry to add on right now.
If you do add on, where would you add on, do you think? Would you stick with Animal Kingdom or would you buy something someplace else?
it would be important to keep the same use year, but so that would kind of matter as far as what's available in the resale market. But I think there's 3 contracts I would go after. Aulani is a really attractive one. I know it wouldn't, for us, it's a little less important to have 11-month windows around here in Disney World because we're so close. We can have like a last minute stay often, so we don't have to plan as much. And I've had pretty good success at finding some last minute trips, go out for a weekend and find 2 consecutive nights somewhere. But with Aulani, it would matter, and we definitely want to go there. But the price per point relative to what it's being sold at direct is really good. The value on it's really good. The value at Saratoga Springs is really good. And I think those old Key West, like 2057 contracts are really good. But, sometimes they're hard to come by, especially smaller contracts, which is where I'm at. So I think those are the 3 at where I would add. I think it matters a little less to us as far as our home resort, though, when we're talking about Disney World properties.
So we ended up buying our DVC points on the ship, actually on our first cruise when we sailed on the Disney Wonder several years ago. But we had stayed at Aulani, and that's where we wanted to buy into because we go over to Hawaii because my parents live over there, and we'd stayed at Aulani just with cash when it first opened. We really loved it there. Looked at it as kind of an add-on, spend 2 or 3 days over there after spending time in my parents' condo, which is kind of small. but so we knew about it beforehand, didn't know anything about the resale market at that time. And when we got on the ship, they kind of made us an offer we couldn't refuse. Have you ever been to one of the DVC presentations on the ship?
Many times. So okay, I'll take you through it. So the first time we went on the Disney Wonder. My son was about 8 months old. This was 2017, April 2017. Uh-huh. No, yeah, that's right. Excuse me, 2016. No, I was right the first time. So anyway, we went to the presentation, and my wife actually won the raffle that they do and the stateroom credit.
Oh, nice.
Which was, we really went for the free drinks, and she won the stateroom credit. But, I think between the intoxicating trip and like being on the ship, coupled with like at the time they were really pushing Aulani, and we were like blown away and like, yes, please. And I did a little bit of the math. And I was like, okay, that's a lot of money. We were living in New York at the time and paying about $2 or $3 billion a month in rent. Yeah, we've been to several of them. It's actually a nice little place. They do the welcome back on, I think it's cruises that are, is it 7 nights or longer for DVC members? They do like a little welcome back thing. I think they still give you the spiel and stuff in there, but there's some people you meet and cocktails and stuff. So yeah, we've been through a ton of them, and we've tried to win that raffle again, and it's only been that one time we got lucky. But so that was a really long-winded answer in saying yes, we've been to several of them.
We have not actually been back to them since we bought the first time. And I'm not sure, because it's always the first day that they have that presentation, like right before, I think it's it's either right before why am I totally drawing a blank? It's been too long since the ship's been sailing. So,
since before the muster drill?
Yeah, before the muster drill, or it's like right after. And I just feel like there's always kind of chaos going on. And it's just like, man, I just don't want to take 30 minutes out of my time to go do that for some reason.
I agree. I totally agree with you on that. And I think sometimes there's a timing issue there, but it's hard to pass up some of those free kind of sugary cocktails that they have. So we try to at least go over there for a little bit.
Yeah, good point there. And they do always. I have stopped in and talked to them at the kiosk there on Deck 4 on all the ships there. They're always really nice. They usually have some kind of swag that they want to give out to you if you're members already. And
yes,
yeah. So you can always stop by and pick up your hat. I don't know how many hats I've got, but
oh my god, like 5. Yeah. I've given half of them away.
I know, but they do a really good job on the ship. I think, and the good thing about it, and this is not you and I trying to push DVC if you're not interested in it, but if it is something that piques your interest, it's just as relaxed on the ship as it is if you go Walt Disney World, Disneyland, or whatever to get the presentations there. But the one thing I guess I would throw out there is just do your research beforehand. If you are thinking about this, if we're piquing your interest at all, make sure you go and look at the Nick's site over DVC Resale Market. He's got a lot of information there. There's several podcasts out there, My DVC Points, and also the Welcome Home podcast. You get a lot of information on there before you make that leap and buy, I guess. And do you have any advice for people that way?
Yeah, I think, God, it's so complicated because I think you could get down that slippery slope of like telling people how to spend their money.
Right.
But
we're not here to do that.
Right, exactly. So I think I think definitely you're right. Do your research. Compare the market, but also look at the incentives to buy that are happening. If you're really intent on getting the blue card, you want the 75-point minimum and all that kind of stuff. That's where you're at. Look at the incentives on land. You know what they're doing here. Now I think there's even an online tool you can add as you're an existing member. You can add, and there's like ways to kind of go through the process where before you would have to call or go in person. But yeah, to do your research, take a look at the incentives that are being offered, and they're usually better on the ship. I'm pretty certain that they're like a little extra on the ship. I don't think that they mirror each other. I think you get some of those incentives on the ship plus a little extra. So it can be worth it. And what they're trying to push usually is not always, they have other things that are available. So it's not just the newest, it's not just Riviera, right? It's whatever else they've bought back in contracts. And I know Copper Creek isn't totally sold out, and Aulani, they've been selling for a long time. It's not totally sold out. So if you're going to go that direct route,
they may be selling that forever, but that's a good thing in some ways.
Yeah, they will be. And it's still, oh God, last I looked, it's like 186 a point or something like that. So that's, as far as resale for Aulani, it's such a better market. It's a big disparity for that.
Yeah. Well, let's kind of pivot. If this is something that's interesting, do your research. The two podcasts I named, I'll leave them in the show notes, are great podcasts. Go back and listen to all the things that those guys have to say. I think they do a really good job of you get your information through podcasts. It's a great way to kind of do some research that way. So let's turn and look at your trip to Hilton Head. Had you guys been to Hilton Head before?
We hadn't. My wife hasn't been. She grew up in Durham, North Carolina, which is not that close to Hilton Head, but closer than where I grew up. She hadn't been there. I had not been there before. So we were really excited to check it out. I know it's like a very big golf destination for folks, and I know some friends that have been. But it was our first time in Hilton Head, our first time at Disney's Hilton Head.
I can't wait to hear about it, because we actually had that planned in March, and then when everything shut down, and this is like one of the reasons. I am not kidding you. This is one of the reasons why we bought into DVC, is because, which I know sounds crazy. Most people are like, I want to stay at the Poly or whatever else. I wanted to stay at Hilton Head. I've been wanting to go there for years, so I'm really curious to hear what your thoughts are by going there. When did you guys make your reservations? So you guys were there when? At what point? The resorts just opened up. So when did you make your reservation? Was it after the resorts were going to be opening up, or had you already had this planned?
We were going to meet family over in Myrtle Beach. We wanted to break up the trip, break up the drive. We were not in a place where we wanted to fly with our kids. And so we did a road trip. And I decided that I told my wife, I was like, what if we tried out Hilton Head? I don't know if we're going to be that way, and we'll stop there on the way home and make a weekend out of it. We booked it about 6 weeks out, I want to say, not knowing whether or not it would even be open by that point. So now I'm trying to rack my brain. So they opened up, I think, on June 22nd, and we had this on for the 28th, I believe. We stayed for the weekend there. It was kind of just rolling the dice. We didn't know if it was going to happen or not.
So they were taking reservations, I guess, obviously.
Yes. Now, wait. Steve, you might have to edit this out.
Okay.
Now I'm racking my brain. We must have had it on the books longer than that.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. Hold on. We might have to edit this out. I'm really sorry. Did I have I think I had like one night. Nope. Incorrect. Let me go back. So I booked this after that they announced that the resort was going to open. I found a night open, and then a second night had opened after I stalked the website. Gotcha. That's it.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. That makes much more sense. Yeah. So I booked a stay, kind of like stalking it right after they just had opened. We were there about a week or so after.
Because, I mean, this is the prime time for Hilton Head, the summertime, for people to go down there and spend the time. Because, like, I've kind of stalked it, too, as far as trying to get in. And any time in the winter, you can get in whenever you want to, except for Christmas time. But once you hit that summertime points, I'm guessing it's a lot of it was just because people canceled vacations and weren't coming down there. And that's why it was a little bit easier for you to get in at this point.
Absolutely. People were perhaps unwilling to travel, or, it was too last minute for them, and they had already taken stuff, off the books. But, I actually asked what they were at with capacity, and she said they're running between 90 and 100%. Now, I don't know if that's a reduced capacity, but that's the number she gave me. Okay,
I'm looking at it right now, and pretty much July and August is all sold out. So people are taking their beach vacations.
Yeah, I really had. I got to tell you, to get the second night, I really had to stalk it and I got very lucky about 10 days before we left.
Okay. So
not even, yeah.
So I know you guys are excited to stay there. You, like I, wanted to spend some time in Hilton Head, check it out, the resort and everything else. Did you do any pre-planning at all? Is like things that you guys could do while you're down there with the kids? Or were you thinking just, spending your time mostly at the resort and over at the beach that they have?
I treated it, I think our comfortability with doing some things despite our willingness to travel was a lot lower than it of course normally would be, just us personally. So we were like, I don't know when we'll be back here and we've never been here. Let's just enjoy the resort and get as much sort of the encapsulation and bubble of the sort of Disney as we could. We just planned on enjoying the room, the beach and the pool, and everything that the resort had to offer. We really didn't. I know between the amount of time that we actually spent there and the fact that we were a little bit, definitely had some anxiety traveling and going to too many places, actually touch points, in and around the area. And it was inconsistent. There were some restaurants open, some closed. So there was still that going on too. So we didn't have very ambitious plans.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool things to do there. We were looking to do this like dolphin excursion where you went out in the morning and get to swim with dolphins, I think. And I'm not a big golfer, but if you're a huge golfer, there's just some amazing golf courses around there. So there's a lot of interesting things to do around the resort itself. Talking about, travel at this time, this is your guys' first time traveling. What were some of your guys' trepidations, or what were some of the things that you guys did to kind of prepare for it? Does that make sense what I'm asking?
Yeah, absolutely. It was definitely a little. We had stopped in Savannah on the way. Never been to Savannah before, so that was like our one stop before we went. We pretty much just stayed in the hotel and walked around a little bit to see it, and then got on the road the next day to go meet with family. I think we took all the precautions that we could. Masks, hand sanitizer, hand washing, social distancing, and the like. But of course, you can't control your surroundings. And so I think once we got to. When we were in Savannah briefly, there's a square where we were staying that was a lot of outdoor restaurants and bars, and it was starting to get crowded, and we immediately got out of there. Mm. It was a little bit alarming because we hadn't, especially because we've been very, very cautious leading up to the trip, knowing that we were going to interact with family. So we were sitting outside at a restaurant there, and there was nobody on the table behind us and the table next to us. So they were giving like every other table. But once that square started to get crowded and people were not, drinking and having fun, I was like, I don't even think there's a pandemic happening at the moment. What is happening? And again, no judgment necessarily on anyone there. It was just like, that's the point where we were like, let's go back to the hotel.
Yeah.
So we were trying to be as cautious as possible, doing our due diligence and, always using all the guidelines and recommendations as best as possible. I think that made us certainly feel a little bit better going. And then I think my kidneys and bladder definitely took a hit because I was like not trying to stop on the road.
Oh yeah.
That was the other thing, because when you start to get to more rural areas in America, not that you're picking on them necessarily, they kind of naturally are used to a little distance. So it's kind of like nobody had a mask on in certain places. Yeah. And so, you're coming from denser population, the city and stuff, you see a little bit more of that. So of mask wearing. So we were like, just get to where we got to go and like kind of stay there. That was our thought.
Gotcha. So you get to Hilton Head. How did the check-in process go? Like in Walt Disney World, you can go to My Disney Experience. They'll send you check in online. They'll send you a text, hey, your room's ready, and then you just go straight to your room. Generally, at least that's what we've done, even before COVID-19. How did the check-in process work for you this time?
So it's different. So when you check in, it took us to. It was a Disney website, but the check-in looked different than when you check in at Disney World. Your actual online check-in page and the UI that you're looking at, the user interface, was pretty easy to go through. It's confirmed. I get an email, what time you're arriving on property, that kind of thing. It did say, do you want a text when your room is ready, that kind of stuff. The other thing about Disney's Hilton Head is they don't have any Magic Band use. I know Magic Band use is kind of changing right now, but you don't use a Magic Band to get into your hotel room. You use the old school key to the world. I personally prefer that over a Magic Band. I'm not a huge Magic Band person. I forget them all the time. I don't know which one is active and which isn't. I'm not, maybe I'm inept, but it's a key to the world card. And so just to take you through check-in, you come in through a gate. Everything is much smaller than you used to with almost every Disney World resort. It's very small scale. And I don't know if this is standard practice, but once you come in through the gate and you just tell, the person you're checking in, because obviously you don't have your key card yet, the lobby's on the second floor, and there was a cast member there looking down at you, asking you what you needed. Hi, how are you? Basically greeting you and directing you where to go. I guess that was just a little filter to make sure you just don't park there and just start wandering around the resort, Mm-hmm. I'm sure it has happened, or, there was no security at the gate. There was no person there like you get at Disney World. So that person was directing you up to the lobby. They wanted one person from your party. They had, the social distance markers. The cast member was behind, I'm fairly certain they're behind plexiglass and had a mask on. Our room was actually ready. There was no text. There was no email, but our room was ready.
Awesome.
And that was really great. I didn't expect it to be ready. DVC rooms are ready at 4. I've had it where they take you right to 4, and for some reason, especially at the Polynesian, it's sometimes after, but yeah, Hilton Head, our room was not even 1:30 and it was ready. It was amazing. I mean, we were planning on just checking in and trying to go to some of the amenities or maybe go to the beach. And we were in the building 11 there, which is where you check in, where the main lobby is. Now it's very small. It's extremely small, and there's a little kind of small little lobby with some chairs and a pool table, but you couldn't play pool, and a lot of those kind of common touch points were eliminated.
So we just recently stayed in a hotel. We had a 4-night stay out in Jackson, Wyoming, and when I checked in, the gal behind the desk said, we're not going to be doing any room service for you, or we're not going to come in and clean up the room while you guys are here. Unless you need something, then give us a call. And that's to kind of reduce the kind of the touch points. With DVC, and I don't have this memorized, but I think it's like every 4 days now they come in. They come in every day to change the towels, but every 4 days they clean the room or something like that for you, or every 5 days. Somebody's yelling. Yeah. People are probably yelling at me. Did they kind of tell you that while you were there too? Like, hey, just to reduce the touch points, we're just going to leave you alone. If you need something, let us know.
Yeah, they give you. I think I got an email that's preparing for your visit, and it talked to you a little bit about that. What's kind of going to change in your stay? They had the signs out. It didn't specifically reference housekeeping, but they talked about that you assume the risk, and please practice social distancing. You always have to wear your mask on property. But in the room, it was just trash collection, no housekeeping. Mm-hmm. Plus, we had a short stay. It was just the weekend stay, so. I don't think they would have come in to do any of that anyway, but it was pretty seamless as far as just collecting trash, getting a towel if you need it, that kind of stuff. And I did see housekeeping was very visible, but mostly, just when I was out and about in the building, just seeing folks going around collecting trash, that kind of stuff.
Gotcha. So what kind of, let's turn to the more of the fun stuff here, I guess, maybe. What kind of room did you guys get? Now, from my understanding, they're pretty big rooms compared to some of the other resorts.
They are. So this is what you're going to love. And hopefully any listeners that have checked it out or will check it out, want to check it out. We got a 1-bedroom. And I think originally we were thinking about a studio, but a 1-bed popped up. And for a place where you just want to hang out in your room a lot and enjoy the resort, I definitely appreciate that with the 2 kids to have separate rooms and space. So it was immaculate. It was immaculate. It was quite big. I don't think it's as big. Maybe I'm wrong, but as Old Key West rooms, because Old Key West rooms to me are like the gold standard as far as DVC rooms. They're huge, but it was a very big room, and the pictures to me don't do it justice. It looked amazing.
Yeah, I'm looking at them right now, and you even have a pretty big deck with kind of a picnic table out on it.
We had 2 rocking chairs, a picnic table. The balcony is very wide. It's huge. It spans from the master bedroom over to the living area kitchen, and it's big enough to have a table out there if you wanted to sit outside. Now it was extremely hot. We did spend time out there. We really didn't eat out there necessarily, but you could if you wanted to. And we had this beautiful view overlooking the marsh and water that was next to the resort.
Yeah, I think a lot of people kind of go into, we could just put our family in a studio, keep the points and everything like that, and then as your kids get older, you want that space. Oh man, those 1 bedrooms They're awesome. That's why we added our points as well, because we're like, we're going to need a 1-bedroom.
Our philosophy is park heavy trip, studio, go to a value, nothing wrong with values, love Pop Century, go, do that if you're not going to be in the room a lot. Why use the premium points? Why use all that cash? Personally, again, personal thing. But if you're going to be spending a lot of time in your room and just enjoying the resort, like a resort only stay, splurge. You will not regret it. The 1-bedroom, or we've been in 2-bedroom, they're amazing.
Yeah, we've got a 1-bedroom booked for spring break at Aulani for that very reason. We're kind of splurging, using all our points to stay there for a week, and I can't wait to do that. It's so much nicer, especially when you're doing a resort stay like that.
Absolutely. This is where we need like the vlog portion of the podcast, Steve, so we can see, like, you could have like a slide going on in the background to make everybody kind of drool about the 1-bed. Yeah.
Well, we're trying to add some more videos. I promise. I don't know if I can do the vlogging thing very well. I don't know if people want to look at my mug so much, but we're definitely going to add some more video in the coming year or coming episodes and stuff. So, well, let's talk about food then. What are your food options while you were there? Did you guys bring your own? Obviously, you got a kitchen. How did you guys do that?
Yeah. So this is where some of the things have changed. There's not a sit-down restaurant at Disney's Hilton Head. There's a ton of restaurants in the area, so there's no shortage of that. But there is not a sit-down. So they have a quick serve. I think it's called Tide Me Over. Get it? Tide Me Over.
Gotcha. One of those puns again.
Yes. And it was great. I don't know if the hours had been changed, but it was open like 8 to 8, or 8 to 5, maybe. Yeah, 8 to 5. And it was really good. For us, it was like, let me get the Mickey waffles. Okay, I'm on vacation. This is what it looks like, kind of thing. And they had, the Dole Whip and the Mickey pretzels. So that's stuff that, my very privileged kids have had many times. Were so deprived for 4 months without it. Had to have. But yeah, they had Tide Me Over, which is over by the pool. And then at the beach house, you had, I think it was like Sandals Bar, which was closed. So the bar, just the dedicated bar at the beach house, was closed. But the quick serve, which also sold alcohol, was open Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So being that we were there on a weekend, it actually worked out just fine. When we went to the beach house, we got some lunch there. I think there was some overlap with the menu at the quick serve inside. So it does have some shortcomings as far as not having a sit-down restaurant. So I'd say, we also brought food, and we had the 1-bedroom, so we did kitchen. And that was really nice, but there's a lot of wonderful options. And some of them, there was one of them that was a walking distance called Scott's Fish Market that you just walk right outside the hotel, and, the place was hopping. We just did some takeout there.
Yeah, I think it's a good point that you bring up there too when you talk about the beach house, because the actual resort itself is near a marsh and it's not actually on a beach. There's that, but they do have a separate area on a beach where they have a beach house and a pool, I believe. Can you talk about that? Like, do they have a shuttle that goes back and forth, or how did you guys do that?
We drove. This was a road trip for us, so we drove over to the beach, but we did see the shuttle. It runs about every 30 minutes, and the beach house, you could walk it. There's a direct path. It's about 1.3 miles, so it's a little bit of a walk, and certainly hot in the summer. But you could walk over there if you wanted, or you could take the shuttle every 30 minutes. Head over to their beach house.
Okay. Do they have?
And there's a pool.
Okay, there's a pool. So did people hang out on the beach? Do they have like chairs on the beach, or is it more like kind of a beach you walk and just go play in, or how does it kind of work? Do they give you towels? I'm asking a ton of questions here.
Yeah, so you could. My understanding of it was, we got towels from the pool and kind of brought them over to the beach. You could do that. We also had a couple of our own beach towels with us. You could actually park over there before the beach house was opening. So if you wanted to go to the beach really early like we did, the actual beach house itself wasn't open yet, so the pool wasn't open. There weren't any cast members in there, but you had a means to go park, and then walk right around the beach house directly to the beach. And the beach, of course, is open to the public. It's just where you park, and the utilization of the facility is only open to Disney guests.
Gotcha. So
we went to the beach really early. The beach is expansive. It's beautiful. It's huge. It definitely started to fill up, and my kids are like attention span for things is not exactly like, let's sit here all day and relax. It's more like, let's run a half a mile down the beach so mom and dad can't sit. As
soon as you sit down and like get relaxed to do something, somebody's yelling at each other or somebody's doing something they just shouldn't be doing, right?
Oh yeah, we had like the Mickey Beach toys, and sand end up in somebody's eyes after a couple of minutes, and so we hung out there and enjoyed that for a while, and then as soon just a little bit after the beach house opened up, we went and got a spot at the pool. Kids were just having a blast in the pool. Pool's like it's an H-shaped pool like Hilton Head, so that's a little part of the theming. And right off that deck, you have the bar. If you're facing the beach, the bar's on the right side, and on the left side, you had the quick serve, and then there was like a little common area with a bathroom there to sit down and just hang out if you need a break from the sun.
Yeah, it looks amazing. I'm looking at it right now. So, how did the pool work for you guys? Now, you said you had to wear masks while you're in the resort itself. I'm assuming that you don't have to at the pool. Did you have to make a reservation, or could you come and go to the pool when you wanted to?
That's actually good. So the first day we went to the pool that was on property. So not at the beach house. So just actually at the resort. And it was a little confusing at first because so we walked to the pool, and it was packed. I mean, it wasn't packed. It was busy. I'll put it that way. But okay. They distanced people. You had to wear a mask all the way as you head to the pool. But right in front of the pool was kind of a concierge, like a cast member that was directing traffic. And outside that pool, it said pool closed. So when they saw that all the beach chairs were taken up, they put that sign outside the entrance so that they couldn't accept any new people. Now, there was no notification of that. And so at first I was like, oh, I wish there was a way to kind of like know how, but I don't know if that would work, and people are so transient. Within 5 minutes, they said, somebody left, there's a beach chair. Now, the way they wanted you to leave was take all your belongings off the chairs, put away all your towels, everything, and then put your chairs up to their most upright position, and that's how they knew they were open.
Okay. Did somebody come and clean them then, or did they?
Yes, they have to sanitize them at that point. So It's sort of like just putting a marker up for a cast member who's constantly walking around with sanitizing everything. They were literally sanitizing the life jackets. Anything that had a potential for cross-contamination with another person was being sanitized at all times. Mm-hmm. It was crazy. I mean, it was like, does that do anything? I don't really know, like if it scientifically, if that, now we're finding out that there's different ways for this thing to pass, but it's like psychologically, I think it made people feel good. Yeah. So that's like Disney went above and beyond to make you feel safe. It was insane.
In a weird sort of way, it's kind of cool that they've got somebody watching that, because you're either using your chair and being in the pool or you're not. And that's like, what it's like on Disney Cruise Line. And I can tell you to an extent, They do a pretty good job at Aulani, but they still have that where people go down there at like 6:00 in the morning and they're trying to put their towels down to save everything and then coming back 3 hours later. So I do appreciate that in a twisted sort of way.
They were on it. There was your lifeguards, of course, which couldn't do anything but pay attention to the pool. But then you had your support cast members there that were helping direct traffic, sanitize, and they still had the host doing like the trivia at the pool and stuff. Mm-hmm. They weren't gathering people; they're just while people were in the pool. Now it's a relatively small pool area by comparison to some other pools. I don't know what the capacity of it is, but it's not huge. I think a lot of people go over to the beach house and the beach too, so they don't need to take into account like all resort guests and accommodate them. So, but they were still doing trivia and announcements. And there was one thing, and I don't know, maybe listeners know, but they would go around about every half hour to an hour, I believe, and check your Key to the World card and take your name down on a clipboard with your room number. Huh. Once you'd already checked in once with them, they didn't continue to do that. Now, they said that sometimes people come in that are not supposed to be there.
Okay.
Now,
yeah.
But I also thought, I was wondering if it's a COVID-related practice to kind of go around and just be sure, like, if, kind of, are you coming, are you going, how long have you been here? I don't know if that was part of it. But yeah, and but that might also be standard operating procedure for that. I'd never experienced that at a pool before, because I guess you can't wear visible magic bands, right?
Right.
So maybe they just wanted to check your. I don't know, but then again, you could put any old magic band on and walk in. So
right. I mean, I guess it's kind of like Aulani. I haven't really thought about that since it hasn't reopened yet. You have to go down the day in the morning before you can use the pool area or the slides or anything like that. You get a wristband and you show them their key to the world card and they check to make sure you're good for that day. And so you do that. But I wonder if they'll do that here in the near future, just because it's like another touch point by putting on you. So I don't know.
That's true. Maybe they don't want cast members going that close to guests and touching them. That's interesting. Yeah, you're probably right.
So they got a slide there. Did you guys go down the slide? Did the kids go down a slide?
Oh yeah. It was fun. My son loved it. He's luckily, living here in Tampa. He's a little fish. My oldest. He loves the water. He loves pools. He loves slides, and so he loved it. He was all about it.
So, what other kind of activities did you notice that they had going on, or while you guys were there? Did they have like fireside s'mores, movies, anything like that?
So, no movies because they didn't want a gathering. There was no campfire, again, no gathering. So I'm imagining that's going to happen too at Disney resorts. It's probably already that way at Disney World resorts. So that was kind of a bummer, but expected. They had there's a recreation kiosk there right by the pool, and where you could go get like cornhole, bocce ball, horseshoe, and there was like a little putting green. It was kind of interesting. The only thing they weren't allowing you to do was the putting. For some reason. So I didn't know, maybe the handle, the grip on the golf. I have no idea. I mean, you return, once you were done, you just return. You didn't even have to sign it out. Actually, my son and I played like cornhole for a little bit, but you just returned it back to like basically what looked like a laundry basket. And I guess they knew that you were done and sanitized it some way. I don't know if you can sanitize those things, but so for whatever reason, though, like they just didn't have golf. So there was like some interesting things. The gym was open. I didn't use it personally, but that was open. You could rent bikes, which that's the biggest thing there. It seemed like is bike riding. And that's probably one of the things that we thought about we should have done. I guess it's a great way to see the area. There's a ton of bike paths. That's a really good and pretty inclusive recreational thing to do while you're there. It seems like a lot of people are renting bikes, but you had to have a mask on a bike inside the resort. And I took a run while I was there, and while I was running inside the resort before I got outside, I had a mask on.
Okay.
A little tough in 90-degree weather.
Yeah. That was one of the things we were looking forward to, was to ride the bikes through the paths. So those paths, did it kind of wind all through the island, or were you on the road some of the time too?
I think there was a little bit of the road. It says when you get there, there's like something like 53 or 54 miles of bike paths on Hilton Head Island.
Nice.
So
you just ran them instead.
Yeah.
You did all 54, right?
I can't. Yeah, not as fast as you yet, Steve. I'm getting there. No, I just went out for a little 5K one morning, and like it was pretty, but I'm used to it in Florida. Like it was really stiflingly hot, especially running part of it with a mask on. But I kind of wanted to run around the resort a little bit. And I had my goofy mask on that I had bought from the Mercantile there. It's like running in my sweaty goofy mask.
Yeah, the people up early were kind of thinking, yeah, he is goofy for doing that, right?
Yeah, totally.
So,
yeah.
Is there anything else that we haven't touched on that you want to talk about as far as I've got a couple more questions, but is there anything we haven't really touched on that you guys did experience or you want to talk about as far as the resort goes?
Let me see. No, we ate at like I said, the restaurant that was really close by. I can't recommend that highly enough. Everything that we did was takeout. There is, I think it's called, I want to say it's Shuttle Cove. It's very close to the resort, and it's kind of cool. There's a park there, and it also has a row of like restaurants and stores, but it looks nothing like a traditional sort of mini mall. One thing I'll say is everything is so manicured and clean. It's crazy. It is so clean. And so when I actually was going for a run, I kind of stumbled upon it, and there's, a Starbucks and some restaurants, and there was like a Belk's department store in there. But things in Hilton Head, it's not there's a subtlety to it, if you will. There's an aesthetic. It's not in your face. So when you're going along the road, like there's not like a giant, like Walmart sign or like a giant Target sign. They're there, but they're kind of like a little, off the path, so to speak. They don't want it to be like loud. They want to keep the aesthetics of the island a certain way. I really appreciated the way it looked. It was really nice.
Shelter Cove. I just pulled it up. It looks really
Shelter
nice.
Cove.
Yeah.
Really cool. Cool.
Was that walking distance? Okay, walking distance. Awesome.
Yeah, walking distance, which was great. So again, it's one of those things that if you do go, I mean, we don't know how long we're all going to be doing this, of course. And some of these things are probably here on some sort of permanent basis. To be able to walk to different places and have that a kind of an extension of the resort stay is really nice.
You make me want to go down to Hilton Head even more. And we're trying to figure out, because we're crazy planners as far as how we do our vacations. I'm trying to figure out how we're going to get down there. Of course, we got to fly across the country to get there, which makes it a little tougher. I wish we could jump in the car and drive up there like you guys did. So what kind of tips would you have for people, whether they DVC members or not? You can book Hilton Head if you're not a DVC member with cash, but what kind of, if rooms are available, what kind of tips would you have for people going there the first time?
Depending on your length of stay, I think this is, I want to seem genuine because it's not necessarily what we did, but I think part of it is checking out the island a little bit and getting outside of the resort is part of it. Because the resort itself, it's beautiful, it's awesome, but it's not chock full of amenities there. You don't have a huge lobby to hang out in. There's a community hall. Was just tables. I think they normally have like some games and stuff, but again, those are touch points, cross-contamination, so they took them away. So while you can be really comfortable in the resort, it kind of forces you outside of there, again, depending on how long you're there. For us, it was a short stay. We really wanted to focus on just being intentional on having our little bit of a Disney moment, I guess, and getaway. I think, there's tons to explore in and around the island, even in the age of COVID. There's still a lot. So definitely get outside the resort.
Well, it's nice with the beach area too, where you can get outside and probably spread out a little bit if there's not a ton of people packed on top of you. So, but I just think that that's kind of the way people are going to travel our vacations like this. And it's nice for all of us who are Disney fans to get that Disney fix, get that Disney waffle. I know we could have joked about it, but it is kind of nice to have that kind of feeling of normalcy almost for just a short period of time.
Yeah. See, we're lucky enough. So we're about 6 hours from Hilton Head from here, but also I think about 2 hours and 45 minutes from Vero Beach. And that's kind of on our radar now too. I think before we had been hesitant to use our points at some of the resorts that, I was looking at the value of where to use our points. It always seemed Disney World was the place for us to use the points. But now with the kind of the nature of the road trips, domestic vacations, beach trips, Hilton Head and Vero Beach have to be on people's radar if you're DVC, if they weren't before, especially if you're saying to yourself, why am I going to buy park tickets and do this if there's all these conditions now and it's just not worth it for our family? So I think those things, and to some extent Aulani, are going to be even harder to get, I think, over the next year or so. And that's my guess.
No, I think you're spot on there. And you're lucky, too, as far as if you want to pop over to Walt Disney World, staying at Animal Kingdom Lodge, another great place to enjoy the pool, watch the animals, some good dining options, and easily do a couple days there if you just to get out of the house and do something different.
Absolutely. Yeah, trust me. I've been flirting with that big. I think we may go on the 25th, like just get a night at the Polynesian so I can have a tiki drink and lay back. I don't know. I'm like at the point I used to be like against like just doing the one night thing because it's not even 24 hours. I try to make at least 2 nights out of it in the weekend. But now I'm like, oh man, arrive early, use the pool. The room isn't ready. Who cares? Just get to soak it all up.
Yeah, definitely. So as we kind of finish up here, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but what are your thoughts? When do you think you guys will go back to the park? I know you got younger kids, trying to make them wear masks is tough in this day and age. And like you said, I mean, I guess we're not really in a huge hurry to go back to the parks anytime soon, especially if it's a different experience, but that's just our thoughts on it. How about you guys?
Yeah. Oh, I could talk to you about this for a while because it's like a big internal debate. But first, I will say my kids were unreal about keeping their mask on. I don't know if it's because they liked that they were themed and like Disney related. They thought it was fun. I mean, to the point that when we got home, my little guy was like, I got to put my mask on every time I go outside. And he was like fighting me to put his mask on. I was like, we don't need a mask on to go throw the trash out. He was like totally cool with it. And I was thinking, wow, this went over way better. I mean, these are children that hate haircuts. So like anything touching their head, but they were very good about it. And for the listeners that are going to have kids that are going to take their kids into situations where they have masks, I hope you have the same luck that we did. So they were really good about it. Will we go? I will be transparent. I have some park reservations coming up as an annual pass member. I don't know if we'll go, and I certainly don't know if I'll take my children to go if we want. It's just harder to kind of get them to social distance and adhere to these things. I'm kind of wanting to see a little bit of a guinea pig and see how other people are doing and see how it goes.
Yeah.
It's kind of where I'm at. I'm 71 miles. I would take a walk down Main Street and get a Mickey bar and be happy. But for other folks that are going to used to going rope drop to fireworks, it's a totally different experience. I mean, let's be honest. So my answer to that is maybe. Probably not. And to be really transparent, our passes are up in August. I don't even know if we're going to re-up this year. Just because with the reservation system and the limited amount of opportunities to use your annual pass at the same price that you pay for it, I'm not quite certain it would be worth it. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are kind of looking at it that way too. You kind of wait and see what people really can do before they decide to redo that annual pass as well. So, well, thanks so much, Steve. I really appreciate your time today. Once again, coming back, I appreciate all the support you do for our show, coming on, talking about your experiences, especially Hilton Head. You make me seriously jealous. And you've got Vero Beach on my mind too about going down there at some point.
Yeah, I'll let you know if we head over to Vero. It's highly likely that we'll try to get out there, although it's incredibly difficult to book right now in the summer. So maybe we can talk about that in the future whenever it happens.
Definitely. Well, whether it's Run Disney, a cruise, hopefully at some point when the ships get sailing again, or head to Vero, stay in touch, and we'd love to have you back on. All the best to you and your family. Be well, stay safe, and just enjoy the rest of the summer down there.
You as well. Thank you, Steve.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Well, that's going to wrap up our show today. Once again, I really want to thank Steve for coming on and sharing his and his family's experiences as they traveled down to the beautiful Hilton Head Resort. If you would like more DVC content through podcasts, I can't recommend enough two podcasts that I enjoy listening to generally each and every other week. They come out with shows. My DVC Points podcast, run by Chad Pennycuff, just a great community he's building over there. And also the Welcome Home podcast, another great podcast to listen to as well. You can find those wherever you listen to podcasts. If you would like to come on our show and share your experiences traveling on the Disney Cruise Line, although I know the ships aren't sailing right now, but if you would like to talk a little Disney Cruise Line with us, you can reach out to myself, Steve, at DCLpodcast.com. We also talk Run Disney when the races are running, and anybody with Adventures by Disney experience, we would love to bring you on and share those experiences as well. If you would like to support our show, we are a listener-supported show. You can do so through our Patreon program. You can go to patreon.com/DCLpodcast and find out all the information there if you would like to support our show. So between now and our next show, I know that some of you are out there traveling and taking some different alternative vacations. We are going to take a look at a couple of them in the coming weeks as well. Our family went to Wyoming. Chris and his husband and Asher, their dog, are up in Yosemite right now, so we'll get some feedback from them when they get back. And if there's a special vacation that you guys are taking this summer that you would like to talk about, that you think that people would be interested in, reach out to me and we'll see what we can do about getting you on the show as well. So between now and our next show, if you're out there traveling, all of us here at the DCL Podcast, myself, Steve, Christy, and Chris, wish you to be well, and we'll see you next time on the DCL Podcast. The DCL Podcast is not affiliated with the Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney Company, Adventures by Disney, or Run Disney. All of the opinions expressed on our shows are those of the hosts and the guests who appear on the show. If you have any questions about any of these products, please contact the Walt Disney Company.